When I was first handed the reins of the grappling club, I entered the headspace that if I showed new stuff every week, that would cement my place as the person to look up to. It would demonstrate my worth. Jiu-Jitsu falls into this trap at every level, coaches needing to show new variations or ideas each session, and students being given the impression that if they know more moves, then they'll be better on the mats, even turning into frustration that they aren't understanding Jiu-Jitsu because they are finding it hard to remember everything. This means it is an easy trap when designing a 6-week course, that each week has to be a new move or new fundamental they have to learn. And with the abundance of what is usually considered basics in Jiu-Jitsu, a beginner course can end up looking like a buffet of random situations and techniques. Instead, I decided to do the same thing again, just with slightly tweaked explanations. What is novel for me doesn't exactly mean novel for them.
How you feeling? Week 2. Oddly enough, it's going to look very similar to week 1. And when I was putting all this together, it's quite easy to think, right, 6-week course, do 6 different weeks, except that makes no sense because otherwise you have like 1 hour on something, then you move on and just completely like ignore it. So we're going to slightly recap what happened last week and then add a little bit more into it, so make it a bit more live so you don't have to kind of explain as much to you. So first part of last week was, we went through balance as part of the first drill. This week we'll go back into that just to begin with. So just getting that recollection of A, keeping your own, and it's just something to work on forever, and B, trying to put people over theirs. So we'll just do that first part of balance. So just try to push someone over the edge. So if you weren't here or don't remember, the idea of it was if I make a shape, any shape when I'm on the ground, so it could be a tripod like this, could be a square, could be me just upright like this. As soon as I make a shape on the floor, that's my shadow, my base. And then my balance is when my weight sits inside my shadow. So if my weight is sitting perfect, like I'm nice and balanced, which I'll just find if I stay still, it's only when I start to move, I have to take my weight off of something to move it, or someone moves me, I start to move my weight inside my shadow. So right now, try and move this leg. My weight's moving towards this edge. So if someone wants to lift here, I'd go over. But if I'm aware of my weight inside my shadow and I can keep it centered, it's a lot harder to shift me. God damn, that's bright. Hey now. So, can I borrow you? You just go butterfly. So you just go use your shins. So you go, move this way a bit. So your partner here, just make a shape. I don't want you to move your limbs, so you go or as little as possible. So you go make the shape on the ground that you want, so a tripod or whatever. And your partner's just going to try and elevate you over the side of one of those edges. And I don't want you to adjust too much. I want you to try and fix the problem by feeling where your weight's going and move it back into the center. So if Ollie starts elevating this leg now, to send me my weight over this edge, and I start to fall over, okay, repeat it. And then I set my weight back in the middle. So as he moves, I adjust it out. And all of a sudden I'm heavy. So I didn't have to move my limbs or anything. I just move my weight back into the center again. Does that make sense? So as soon as I start to feel that kind of adjustment that he's trying to put on me by moving it to an edge, I sit it back in the middle. And that's going to make me heavy. Like just there, he was like, you could tell that, oh, okay, that's different. Make sense? And then if and start super simple, because as we go on and we start to move around, as you move, you will start moving your weight around your shadow. And then the skill is minimizing that. Like I said, if I'm standing and I want to walk, to move one leg, I have to take my weight off that leg to go forwards, which right now my weight is sat completely in the middle. To go that way, I have to move my weight like that. And that's the moment I become vulnerable as I shift my weight. And so here, if I want to go around someone, I have to move my leg. I naturally lift my weight slightly this way so I can move it. But if I can be aware of that, I can still move it, but keep it in the middle as I go. Does that make sense? So you saw there, like, as I lifted my leg, I didn't do that. I pushed back a bit as I went, and all of a sudden that leg's heavy. So if we were back in that same situation, if I'm still, and Ollie goes to move me, and difficult. But if I go to move my leg, yeah, bang. I'm now nice and light on that side. So if I'm aware of that and keep my weight centered, difficult. Make sense? So I'm just compensating and putting my weight back center. That's all we're going to do for part one. So I'm not fighting back. I'm not getting rid of his hands. I'm just aware of my weight and just how I keep it in the center. And then we're going to really ramp it up after that. Cool? Off we go.
The idea behind this is recapping what the salient point of the previous week was, balance, but now adding additional context that you can mess up your own balance by trying to move, and you end up making it easier for people to sweep you if you move too much without compensating. Another way I describe it is by visualizing walking with a tray of champagne glasses, and you're trying to make sure none of them spill as you take steps. So, trying to move around someone's guard whilst visualizing that tray on your back.
Next part. So just again recapping everything. So that just worked perfectly. So I don't have to badger at home. Put a bit more of a sparring element of it. But as soon as something goes wrong, I need you to repeat it and figure out why it went wrong. So what you're going to do is you're going to keep your balance. And I want you to just find your way over their knee. I'm going to leave it open to you right now. Especially if you're new, it's going to be weird, but no worries, sir. So essentially, I want to find my way around, get past his legs. I don't mind how you do it. I'm kind of setting you up to fail, but it's on purpose. I want you to enter that same situation and keep your balance, keep control of your balance as you go around. You're going to make some movement. And I want you to find your way around the legs. So eventually you're completely past them, okay? So their legs are out the back and you're around here. Don't care which way you do it, etc. It's important that you actually do this with someone who is more experienced. If you get rolled as you go round, I want you to do the exact same move again, okay? So if I'm trying to get around Ollie, so I'm keeping my balance, he's trying to shift me, I'm being very stable. If I go round and I get rolled over, I go, right, okay, I want to do that again, but I want to fix it. So I want to repeat the process. So I'm going here, I always go around, and now I'm trying to make it so he can't roll me. So he tries. Make sense? So I'm setting you up to fail a little bit, but that's on purpose. So it's more of a stress test on keeping your balance. Make sense? Do that for me, and then we'll talk about getting around the knees.
I've purposely left this part vague, so they try and complete the task, but also whether they click that it's directly related to what we just said in the previous part. I've also started to add the video game method now. It isn't straight competition or situational sparring, because if something goes wrong, they are allowed to repeat it and apply the concept to fix it. A puzzle maker isn't in competition with a puzzle solver. The puzzle maker is trying to teach the solver through puzzles, and it's important that if they fail, they can go back and repeat the puzzle.
So make sure you repeat it and get them to fix it. So lower your resistance and give them chance to learn. One sec. Stop, 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 stop. So when you do this and you get rolled, person on the bottom, I need you to lower the resistance, repeat it, but don't give them the answer, okay? Like they know the answer. They know how they're getting rolled. It's obvious. You're having your weight go over an edge. So repeat it and let the other person fix it, okay? Repeat, but lower the resistance and give them chance. Lower the puzzle. Carry on.
I made a mistake by not reiterating this earlier. People were either being a little bit more competitive or telling the person the answer instead of allowing them to just repeat and solve the puzzle.
So now talking about getting the next part, why we do it, is, as we said last week, I want to control the hips all of the time. They need their legs and their hips to be able to do anything worthwhile in grappling. So the more I can focus my attention on those, the better. And as I said last week, as you progress in Jiu-Jitsu, everything involves the hips. Everything involves shutting down the hips and putting weight on the hips, and you never leave once you put weight on them. And I need to get around the legs to put effective weight on the hips to stop them from going anywhere. Because if I'm south of their legs, they can use their legs to block me, and this is kind of like the crux of today's class, is boiling down what Jiu-Jitsu is. I'm attacking the arms and legs, getting past the arms and legs to get access to the spine. And as we were just saying there, the hips. As soon as I can start sitting my weight across here, that's it. It's kind of over. But I need to get past the arms and legs to do it. And it doesn't matter if it's standing on the ground, I need to get past the arms and legs to get access to the spine. The last joint that kind of defends the spine are the knees and the elbows. And I need to get either over, under, around, or through. And that's going to hopefully stick in your head. So if I'm trying to get to Adam's hips, the start of his spine, I need to get past his knees. If his feet are in the way, if there's air on the soles of his feet, that's better. If there's me on the soles of his feet, that's a problem. So if he can put his feet on me in any way, that's going to block me from getting close to his spine because he can just push me away. But if I can get his soles of his feet off me in some way, get him to the ground, in the air, to the side, I don't give a shit how. Just split them. He's like, not aggressively. But I need to get his, don't do that wildly when someone's like not warm. But I need to get air on the soles of his feet. I then need to just climb ahead of his knees. I don't care how you do it. So I can go over the top of his legs, I can go around his knees, I can push underneath his knees and go underneath him. I could just split him open and cut through the middle of his knees. But I need to get past his knees so my entire body is on his hips. Okay? And I'm just going to crawl that way through. I don't give a shit about his hands necessarily if I have access to his hips. So he's going to try and keep his feet on me, and I'm just going to try and get past him. Okay? So as I come close to him, he's going to try and put his feet, soles of his feet on me. I'm going to get rid of him and just try and get ahead of his knees. And then add the rest of myself. Being aware of my shape on the ground, being aware of my balance. And I get through, okay? I'm just trying to climb ahead of his kneecaps until the rest of my body is there. As soon as I'm ahead of his kneecaps, that's it. I just stay on his hips. That's our stop point. Person on the bottom, this is a learning phase. So keep the resistance low for this first part. Get them used to this idea of, right, this is what it feels when I get past the knees, okay? Then slowly increase the resistance. It will help you as well, side effect training, of that idea of blocking someone because it's going to form into the next part. So I'm going to, like the amount of resistance I want to see, so I keep my feet on him. Lower it, yeah. So keep that tripoding shape. I'm going to try and keep my feet on him. He's going to keep blocking it. And he's just going to find his way around my knees. As he goes, I'm trying to unweight him. So he tries to keep his weight in the center until eventually he can just settle back on my hips again. Make sense? So feet contact, get rid of the sole of the foot. So it's in air, on the floor, in the air, to the side. I don't give a shit. Then they're just going to try and get ahead of your knees. You're going to try and, put a little bit of resistance in, but enough that they can learn that this is important. And then add some unbalancing in. Again, mild unbalancing to make sure that their weight is central as they do this. And as soon as you get past the knees, attach them to the hips, and then that's it. Okay? But start low resistance. This has to be like a learning phase moment. Cool? Off you go.
Because now isn't about pressure testing balance, and we're back in a learning phase. I want this to be a lower resistance so they can add context to the moves they were trying to figure out in the previous section. Essentially, I'm teaching them guard passing without mentioning the idea of guard or necessarily what a pass is. Just that it's important to control the other person's hips and we need to find our way there to do it. They aren't looking for particular positions, just contextual control.
Again, slow it down. Slow it down. It's not about being fast. I want you to try and keep your weight as low as possible. I want to make it so the person on the floor can't move. So again, this is all a learning phase. So I need you to start as low resistance as possible and slowly build up. If it fails, I need you to repeat it again. So it's not sparring anywhere near. It's quite live, absolutely. And it's got an element of sparring to it to make it live, but it has to be repeatable. So, as I alluded to just, he's going to keep trying to use his legs, trying to balance me, because that's the strongest part of his body. Don't just think about going around the outside. You can go for the middle, you can go underneath, you can go over the top. And if one way looks slightly blocked, go a different way. There's always options. But I'm going to try and keep weight on his legs so he can't move his hips. So as I make contact and I get past so he's got his soles of the feet on me. As I get past that part, I make contact to his hips and put as much weight through his legs as possible. So I'm not high up in the air. I'm not trying to be fast with this, so slow it down as much as you can. And I make as much tight connection to his hips as I can, so he can't move his legs at all. Okay, and I keep that tight connection. And if he tries to now use his legs, I keep that connection with him. Okay, it's only if I let him use his legs, he's going to be able to move me around. So the analogy that I gave is the idea of a car rolling downhill. The handbrake is off, but the handbrake is off, but also the engine is off. And it's just rolling like that, okay? And if you're pushing a car up the hill and you take the handbrake off, you're now connected to the car. So if your phone rings, you're not checking your pocket, okay? Because now the car is just going to fucking kill you. Right? You are connected to that car. Right? It's not like when you are pushing a car on the flat and you can take your hands off it because the car's not going to go anywhere. Now the car is on you as soon as that handbrake is off, okay? And that's so he is the person, I am the car. As soon as I make connection to him, there is weight going through his legs. He doesn't get his legs back. So as soon as I get his feet off me, here, in what way? So as soon as I make that contact, I make contact to his legs, and now I'm a car rolling downhill. So I'm using my toes to create that little bit of forward pressure. I'm not pushing him along the floor, but there's a leaning into him. So if he pushes against my legs, yeah, he might be able to push me up the hill, but my legs come straight back in again. And I'm not being fast. I'm not trying to rush the drill, but I'm slowly working my way around. Keeping my balance. Keeping that pressure through his legs. Even here, there's weight still going through his legs. Slowly, like gravy going down his legs, okay? Make sense? So keep that slow pressure. I want the drill to be like that. Nothing crazy, nothing like diving around. You're slowly just a car rolling downhill. So start level 1 resistance, get used to being a car. Doing this, connect to the legs, get rid of the feet, and just do that. Focus on your weight, take your time. If it takes you a minute to get around each other, that's fine. But get used to not diving around. As soon as you start moving those, like I said right at the beginning, as soon as you might start making the big motions and moving your weight around, pinballing your weight around the inside of your shadow, you get easier to throw around. But if I'm stable, if I'm dancing this way, if I'm dancing around and jumping and shit like that, yeah, I'm weightless now. Because as soon as I jump my legs in the air, there's no weight on them. As soon as I do this, yeah, I'm airborne. Okay, now I'm getting rolled around. But as soon as I'm static, keeping that forward tension on his legs, yeah, you can't go anywhere. Okay, so take your time. Think about your balance, think about keeping your weight directly in the middle of your shadow. Be a car, just rolling downhill. They make connection, and then it's over. It's only when you retreat and take your weight off, they get their legs back, and now you're going to get thrown around. And that's going to happen if you start trying to throw yourself over and try and speed this up. Don't try and speed it up. Do it slow first, then faster gets easier. Do that for me.
The car rolling downhill is a further visualization exercise for adding an intensity and leaning pressure to their rolls. That once you have chosen to engage, you engage, and that continued intensity will shut the other person down and stop them using their limbs. Beginners especially want to rush the engagement and come flying in. This allows them to slow it down and direct their pressure in a more positive way.
So now we've just put in the last section, which is similar to what we did last week. So we've recapped balance, we've recapped now maintaining balance and where you want to go and trying to hold someone down. Last week we talked about returning to the floor, getting past the legs, grabbing hold of the hips and returning them to the ground. Similar idea now, so we're going to work up to that part. We're in the last 15 minutes. So I want to get around the legs as you've just done. So if you're having a bit of issue with that, person on the floor, just lower resistance a little bit and allow them to get around. But find that balance that they're not losing. They have to get around the legs. So I want to make it mildly difficult for me, but I'm still going to win. Okay, if I get rolled, he's upped it too much, I need him to lower it. So I'm going to get around his legs and go try and find a way of controlling his hips, either using my legs or my shoulders or something. I just want to keep his hips in the ground, okay? And he's just going to try and get up. That's it. If he gets up, I have to get up first and try and put him back down again. Gravity only goes that way. So you've got past the feet. Your car rolling downhill. You find your way past the knees. And then you camp on the hips, and he's just going to try and get up. And I'm going to use whatever I can to stop him. Okay? Remember what we talked about last week with the bottom leg? So I'll control his bottom leg as well. If you can find a way of freeing his bottom leg, that's good. And it's important that both people now get to play with this, because as someone who's new, you want to get used to getting up off the ground. So even when you're being held down, you want to find those brief moments you can get your bottom leg out and get back up. And the easiest time to do that is before they settle their weight on your hips. So as soon as I hit the floor, I want to get back up again. So explore that motion as well. So I might let him up a little bit, just so he gets a workout on this. As he gets up, come back, gets up. I find a way of returning him to the ground again. And then as soon as he hits the floor, he needs to get back up again. Okay? And figure out what he wants to do with his bottom leg. And my job is to stop him. So as he hits the floor, I find a way. Maintaining. I put him back down. Control on his bottom leg. Okay? Making his life hard. Make sense? Just be mindful of people around you, so don't run around as much as we did. Make sense? Bit more live. Might have to take it in turns on the mat space.
Do we stand up only once they've passed?
Yeah. Just for this part, yeah. So allow them the leg pass. Do you get past the legs? Because the main crux of this. So again. Oh my God. Main crux of this is. So the learning points I want to find in this, if the resistance is too high, please lower it, and please tell them to lower it. If it's too high, just say, well, chill. So the main crux points is of me getting past, then him, then me finding a way of camping on his legs. So I've got my leg through, using all my weight now to camp on his hips. So I want to get used to that. So it's important that I get space to be able to learn this part and then get that feedback off him. How does that feel?
Good.
Yeah. So I'm keeping my weight balanced. I'm keeping myself sitting on his legs. I've got a nice frame that makes it difficult for me to roll over. My weight's right in the middle of my shadow, and all that weight's on his hips. And then have that conversation like, right, this feels comfortable. Can you get up? Try and get up. Cool. Okay. Yeah, that sucks. So I'm sitting on his bottom leg. So I need you to talk and say, right, do this now. Don't just make it random. Like, cool, I'm going to explode now. Fuck you, I'm not going to tell you. Right, I'm going to get around his legs. So come back again. So I get rid of his feet. Get my way past his legs. I can go over the top if I want to. Use my legs and arms to control his hips. He tries to get up now. All right, lower it, lower it, lower it. Let me get used to holding your hips down. Cool. Okay, now feel it. Okay, cool. Okay. Right, I'm going to let you up. Yeah. Take the weight off. Go up. Okay. Right, I'm going to try and get you to the ground again. Okay, so make sure you have that conversation, see right what you want to do. Okay, like that. I said, right, lower the resistance. Cool. Right, I want you to try and stand up now. Okay. I'm going to let you up now. Okay. I'm going to try and put you back down now. As soon as you hit the floor, I want you to get back up instantly. Choose the parts you want to learn and work on those parts. Don't just make it sparring. Make sense? So there's live elements. It's not prescribed what you're doing, but you are guiding it a little bit, okay?
Top person guides the jump.
No, both people. Because there's an element for the bottom person to learn about getting back up again. So both talk to each other like, what are we going to do now? Which part of this? Are we doing camping on top of the hips? Are we doing getting up and freeing our bottom leg? Are we returning each other to the floor? Are we learning about putting them back on the floor and holding them down? Or are we learning about going back to the floor and getting instantly back up again? Choose the part you want to learn from. So it's quite a wide drill, and it's going to take us to the end of the session. Make sense? But talk about the resistance, talk about what part you want to learn from. But it makes it the most live part of today. It's kind of adding in everything we've already done. Make sense? And see what happens. Off you go.
This is now a more open drill, trying to galvanize all the ideas but in a way that makes it live but not competitive. The person whose drill it is still gets to win, but the other person creates puzzles. And the emphasis can change from each person to create useful side effect training. So this is pushing the ideas of balance, pressure, connection, getting around the knees, controlling the hips once the legs are past, and how to free the bottom leg and get up. This also adds more context for mat returns and comfortable way of learning how to take down.